Oh, the reason that I was infatuated with Led Zeppelin was because of the drums.
Zepparella, tribute band or cover band? You know, it's like, because there's so many ways to interpret what a tribute band is anymore.
As women, we have a great benefit, which we're never going to look like them. So I think we have more freedom.
You guys were the absolute first tribute band in the world to do anything. I'll just say that, you know?
There you go. There you go.
What kind of advice would you give them when starting out in a tribute band?
It's just one answer, which is like, you just really have to do it for love.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode. Ray, are you excited about this guest?
Oh, hell yeah. We got Clementine from Zepparella. This is going to be awesome.
So excited. I have only I don't know how much time you have, but me and Ray figured we'd spend the next 3 days asking you about your career. What was it, 2005 you started this band? You know, so it was a long, 2005, long time. Cool. I want to know, actually, Ray being a percussionist, myself, I'm a drummer as well. I want to know what has sparked interest in drumming as a kid, you know? Obviously, you've been doing it for a long time. Was there a specific performance or a drummer that, you know, influenced you in your career?
Yeah, I have kind of a funny story about my life as a drummer, which is that I started playing drums when I was 27 years old. I wasn't a musician before that. I mean, I took piano lessons when I was a kid and was in choir and stuff like that, but I went to school for writing, and I moved to New York City to write. And I was a writer. Like, I saw myself, and I kind of still identify myself as a writer. And when I was 27, I took a drum lesson, and I was a little lost in my life. I had a lot of musicians around me. My partner at the time was a recording engineer and a musician. And I don't know, that as soon as I started playing the drums, first of all, I had an amazing drum teacher, Fred Klatz, out of the Drummers Collective in New York City. And we just really clicked. He would tell me things, and I understood it, and drums made a lot of sense for me. And at the time, I was lost and kind of looking for something to kind of put me in the world. You know, writing is so solitary, and I really have always loved collaboration. And when I started really practicing drumming and thinking about bands and music, and thinking, what a wonderful way to collaborate.
Right.
And I thought, I'm just going to kind of do this for a while and see where it takes me. And now here it is.
And there you are.
Awesome.
Yeah. I know the question you're asking me. I didn't do it in high school. Right. So I didn't, my nephew right now, he's an amazing drummer, and he's in the jazz band and the orchestra and the marching band. And he's getting that kind of background, you know, that you get when luckily he's in Southern California, has an amazing musical education at the school he's in. And, I missed out on all of that. You know, when I started, it was funny because when I started playing drums, everybody around me had been playing for so long. You know, they all started, jamming out with songs in their parents' basement, when they were 12 and 13 years old. And so when I started, it was like, I missed that whole thing. I didn't get to ever jam out with folks. You know what I mean? Right. I kind of wanted to, and they were like, what are you talking about? We're working musicians. So, but the other thing that it kind of happened because I started so late was that, I never had any. I always figured when I went on stage that I was going to be the least qualified and the worst musician on any stage, right? Because everybody had been playing for so much longer than I had. And so in a way, it freed me up to say, I'm just going to do what I do as good as I can. And I'm not in competition with anybody because everybody's better than me. And it was very freeing to feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so many people have that kind of background where it leads you down a different trail. Not everybody does start at 6 years old, and you hear those stories. Oh, there's people that start later in life, even actors and stuff like that. So it's interesting to hear everybody's story. I was just curious of at what point in your life did you discover Led Zeppelin, and how did it hit differently from other music to you?
Yeah, I think when I was I grew up in like I said, Southern California, and there was a rock station, KMET. It was my favorite station, and I listened to that station when I was from a young time. My dad was a big music lover. I mean, every weekend it was just Stones all day long, or the Beatles, or the band. I mean, I have a great classic rock education, right? And
KMET and the radio KLOS was right next to each other. So it was awesome.
Right next to each other.
Yeah.
I know, it was amazing. Yeah. And I would listen to those. I when I was in junior high school, I was like, television is evil. And I just focused on the radio. I just love the radio and those stations. And KMET would play Led Zeppelin A to Z on the weekend, like on a long weekend, like Labor Day weekend. And so I recorded them all on cassette tapes. And so if people ask me what record things are on, I have no idea. It's like I knew them in alphabetical order, right? The songs.
That's unique.
Yeah. And but yeah, and when I started playing drums, 10 years later or whatever, 15 years later, I realized the reason that I was infatuated with Led Zeppelin was because of the drums. And it really clicked to me. And when I remember playing, I'd been playing for about a year, and I got together with my boyfriend and a friend of his who was in town, and we were playing, and the guy who was a bass player, he said, you have really a Bonham sound, which was really remarkable to me at the time because I hadn't been playing that long, but I recognized oh yeah, of course I do. It was the primary thing that I listened to when I was growing up, and it just kind of sunk into my bones, I think.
I know you said 27 when you started playing drums, but when you actually sat behind a drum set, was there any lessons involved before that, or were you just playing by ear?
No. So what happened was I sat down at a drum kit, and my boyfriend said, "Hey, well, here, do this, do that," and I kind of did it. He's like, "Oh, I actually picked that up pretty quick." And he said, I said, I have some, we had some drums in the apartment because we had a bunch of friends who were drug addicts who would sell random pieces of equipment at different points. And we had a hi-hat and a snare and a snare stand and a kick pedal. And he rigged us up so my kick pedal hit on a box, wooden box. And I would he'd showed me some stuff in the apartment. And then maybe and I started playing to Sweet Virginia, Rolling Stone's Sweet Virginia, because I thought if I'm going to play, I want to swing a little bit, right? And then to Enigma, the band Enigma, which was just loops of drumming to Gregorian chants. And I was like, I need to play in time. I want to swing. So I was kind of jamming out to that for a while. I'd kind of do that when I got home from work. And then maybe 2 months later, I was bartending, and someone came in, and he owned a recording studio. And I told him I was playing drums. And he said, "Here's the number of the best drum teacher in New York City." And I went to see Fred, and I think my lesson was an hour, and it ended up being 2 hours because we had so much to talk about music and philosophy and everything. And I just got hooked really fast. Yeah.
I mean, that's it. And the drums are such a great instrument. Everybody says, you're in the back there, but, you're the anchor of everything, in my opinion. If you ask the lead vocalist, they might tell you differently. But
I think everybody would say, you can have a mediocre band and add a great drummer, and it becomes a great band. You can't have a great band with a mediocre drummer. It will not be a great band, right?
Agreed.
So the drums are really important.
Agreed. Yeah. So what was the first Zeppelin tune you played on the kit?
It was the first one. I actually brought it into it before I even thought of that I would ever play it Zeppelin on stage. I brought in The Ocean to learn with my drum teacher, and I heard that little the little triplet on the foot, and I was like, "Oh, I'll never be able to do that." So But I did learn the ocean. Yeah.
This podcast is all about tribute bands. And, the main question we ask, and it's funny that, everybody has a different opinion. We've had already quite a few guests on Zepparella. Tribute band or cover band? It's like, because there's so many ways to interpret what a tribute band is anymore.
Tribute band, isn't a tribute band is you're playing one band's thing.
Yep.
And to me, much. A cover band is a cover band. You play multiple,
a bunch of different things. I agree.
Right? Yeah.
I agree with you. Some of the, and Ray agrees with you too. Some of the people that are out there that wear all the costumes and everything like that, kind of think they're the real tribute band because they're dressing up. But then, there's other bands that, like we just had on the leader from the Dark Star Orchestra that does all the Grateful Dead stuff. And, he was like, yeah, we tribute the music. We play it like the record, and that's what the people want. I'm not wearing what the drummer wore in Grateful Dead. So, basically everybody has their own interpretation. So tell us about, how did the band start? So it's been going for a while. You started it. Talk about how did you form the band?
First of all, I just want to say about that tribute thing, I think first of all, it has to do with the band, right? So if you're going to tribute, the New York Dolls, you got to kind of dress the part, right?
Correct.
That's a lot different than, another band where it really was about the music. And another thing is, as women, we have a great benefit, which we're never going to look like them. We can put a wig on, but we're just not going to look like them.
Right.
So I think we have more freedom to say, really just has to be about the music, because it's not going to, we're not going to look like Zeppelin.
Yeah. And you guys, by the way, sound amazing. I mean, I've seen your stuff online. I'd love to catch you live one of these days. But yeah, tell us how it all came together.
Yeah. So let's see. Kind of the long story was, I was in a band, a 3-piece stoner rock band for 8 years out of New York City, that toured really fanatically. I think in one year we played like 320 shows that year, just 3 women in a van traveling around the country. Like, we went around 8 times and we're really maniacs about touring. And then when that big tour kind of ended, we went to Europe and we were doing these different things, but I settled in San Francisco. We had given up our apartments in New York and moved into a van and said, we're just out on the road indefinitely. And then when we were like, okay, let's settle someplace. I settled, and I met my husband and settled here in San Francisco. And so, the Bottom was touring about, 6 months of the year. And so I was like, okay, well, I want to do something else. So I joined an AC/DC band here called AC/DC. And that band, it was so much fun. And it taught me, I had never learned somebody else's songs for real that way, where I really have to play exactly what they were playing. I'd never done that, because at that point I'd been playing for 9 years or something. And I'd been in an original band for all that time. So I thought, well, this will be a great education for me. And thank heavens it was AC/DC, because that band taught me really how to swing. I mean, AC/DC, people talk about those drum parts being so simple, but they are not simple when you listen to that fucking hi-hat, because it's just swinging like crazy. I mean, Phil Rudd is a master at that. And so I was in that band for about 2.5, 3 years, and Gretchen joined the band. And so it was her first band that she was ever in. And we got offered some stuff. Got offered a 3-week tour with Reverend Horton Heat at one point. I remember this being the pivotal thing. And the rest of the band couldn't do it. They didn't want to take time off of their jobs and stuff like that. And Gretchen and I were talking about how, we really did want to music was our profession. Like, we wanted to play a lot more. And I said, a couple of years before that, I had pitched to my original band that we could do a Zeppelin thing. We could do a set of Zeppelin songs. And I had written out the songs I thought I was capable of. And that band didn't go for it at the time. So I told her, we could start a Zeppelin band. And she said, "Oh, can I audition?" And I said, "Dude, if you want to be in, you're in." And
Right.
and so that's kind of how it started. Was it was really about just getting better as musicians and learning our heroes things, and then also opening up avenues to be able to work a little more. So that's kind of the impetus to starting it.
That's an amazing story.
So you went from an AC/DC to Zeppelin tribute, and so did you guys continue? Were you doing both? Like at one point, like one night AC/DC, one night Zeppelin, blah blah blah.
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, when we said that we wanted to start a Zeppelin band, the other band got very angry with us. We didn't mean it as a competition, but they saw that as it was going to be a competition, which was silly to us because we were like, we'll just do it when that band isn't working. That band was very popular, and and this is something that we'll just do on the side, but they didn't have it, so they kicked us. They booted us out, and we were like, "All right, well, I guess we're doing Zeppelin now."
Okay. Oh,
yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah, and when you were doing it, I mean, really, the industry with tribute bands has grown so much, but you were kind of at the beginning, when people didn't even call it, I don't think, tribute bands or what they think of today that I know of. Maybe they did, but it just seems more popular today, I should say, from when you started it. Am I right or wrong, or do you feel that way? Or
the history of bands playing other people's, I mean, that's how the Beatles started, that's how the Stones started, that's how it's like, but the tribute,
covers,
I think
the
tribute.
Yeah,
the cover, that's right. So the tribute thing, honestly, I really don't know. I don't know when it all started.
I think, I would have to say, I'll put my stamp on it. I'm just going to go on record saying you guys were the absolute first tribute band in the world to do anything. I'll just say that,
There you go. That and 2 cents will get me like $1. Yeah.
But no, I mean, honestly, nowadays, and we'll talk about this too, but the tribute scene has just grown. There's so many different bands out there doing it, and so many different places to play, and it's becoming bigger and bigger. With being able to play a theater, or bands even being able to play places like Red Rocks and stuff like that. It's incredible.
Speaking of venues, like what size venues are you guys doing? What like nationwide? Are you guys touring outside of the U.S. as well?
Well, we've been up to Canada, not in a while. Every year somebody comes out and says, we're taking you to Europe, and it just hasn't manifested. So yeah, we fly all over the United States, and we tend to do theaters, up to like 800, I would say, generally. Like this weekend we played venues that were maybe like one that I think that's 600, one that was 300, you know what I mean? Like it changes so much. We do big festivals up to 10,000, and then we do, little rock clubs that are like, 200 people. So
depending on the year, on the time of year too, I bet. Like you're going to do more of a club scene in January, February, and then the festivals obviously in summer.
That's right. That's right. And I think that people really love to see us in theaters, and those nice old theaters that have been redone. My least favorite are the real corporate stuff, which we do, but it's like a buzzkill.
Yeah. Well,
no, I get it.
They rock out at 1 PM, and
they usually pay more. No.
They pay more. Yeah, they pay more, but it's like, I like to play for people who actually come to see us, and not people who just are there because they have to be. So, yeah.
No, that makes sense. And you're also a spiritual counselor, right?
I am. Mm-hmm.
And how do you balance the life between that and you're working as a drummer, and was there one passion that came first?
That's, the kind of story of my life is that I found, I went to my first 10-day silent meditation retreat, and I found drumming right around the same time of my life. And there have been these two paths in my life of contemplative practice and then rock and roll lifestyle, right? These two sides of myself. But when I really look at my life, and I did this a lot when I was writing the book, was looking at it and realizing it's really all one thing. I learn the same lessons on this drum stool as I do when I'm sitting in a meditation practice. I'm trying to find that place of stillness, of eternal presence within me, where so that the music can play through me, right? And when we're sitting on a meditation mat, we're looking for the ability to have life move through us rather than getting caught up in all of the attachments and the suffering that we find ourselves in. And so I kind of see it as all one big mishmash, although one involves, green tea and one involves whiskey, or used to, not anymore for me, but it used to, you know what I mean? Like it looks different, but I have the same purpose, which is to find stillness and compassion and equanimity within me. Yeah.
So that's within a 10-day silence, thing that you're at, do you find yourself air drumming instead of actually playing? So
it's amazing what the mind does to distract you. This one, I went to a 10-day meditation thing, and this entire album just poured out of me. Like I had all of the lyrics, I had melodies. I was like, stop getting distracted by this, but it just like I couldn't get it out. And I mean, I couldn't get away from it. And when I came out of it, I presented it to Zepparella. We had a different lineup at the time, but I presented it to them, and we ended up recording the album, which we never really put out. But it was this kind of crazy creative thing that happened. So yeah, sometimes stuff like that happens. I should not be doing that during a meditation retreat. I should be just, Well,
I mean, it inspired you. The whole purpose of a meditation is also inspiration. So you're
that's right.
You were inspired. Yeah. So there's a new book right there. You should call it Air Drumming. The inspirational.
We'll see it on Amazon soon. I mean, speaking of inspirational, we are going to have a lot of people that are aspiring to be in tribute bands and want to know from somebody like yourself, what kind of advice would you give them when starting out in a tribute band? What do they need to do to become the best tribute band that they can be?
It's just one answer, which is like, you just really have to do it for love. Like if you're doing it to make money, you're barking up the wrong tree. I mean, really, like go get a job in finance because it is a lot of it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work out of the limelight to really master the music. And we're playing the greats. We're playing people who
absolutely
I mean, when I look at Zeppelin, the people, they were 24 years old, 25 years old, and they were in a flow of creative output that is, some of us get and some of us, aspire to. And the magic that they created on stage kind of, there's the songwriting, which is amazing. And then there's the magic between all four of them, which is really the great gift of a tribute band, is that, I mean, I can sit in my room and learn all of Bonham's parts, but when I play them with somebody who's playing Jimmy's parts, suddenly a light bulbs go on like, oh, that's why he was doing it that way. Mm-hmm. He's totally listening to Anna, like Anna and, like Robert and Bonham are like bouncing off of each other here. It's like you get to really get inside of the music in a way that you just can't on your own. It's really exciting to hear how the other people are interpreting it. And then you realize like, oh yeah. And then also Anna is Anna. She's not Robert Plant. And so her thing is a little bit different. I'm never going to be Bonham. I'm Clem. And so how do I find myself within this very rigid structure? Sometimes I kind of equate it to, writing a sonnet, right? So a sonnet has a very specific, defined form, like it has a defined rhythm, and it has a defined number of syllables in each line.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a poet, you can think, oh, it's so restrictive. How could I ever do that? I want to be free and express it. But when you really go for it, you find the freedom in what it is that you're conveying within this very rigid structure of the form. And a tribute band is kind of like that. You find out who you are as a player within this very prescribed structure of music. And that's really exciting. And I think that's why there's orchestras. I think that's why people, play classical music, because it's like they have this beautiful structure that they know it's supposed to sound like this, and yet you hear their own interpretation within that structure. That's really exciting. So I think for anybody who wants to start a tribute band, to find people who are excited about that aspect of it, that's what puts a fire into a tribute band. That's when you see the tribute band where you really know that they're like getting into those intricacies of the music. So I would definitely start it from there. And the one thing I would advise against is to ever do anything in an ironic way. I see sometimes tribute bands who they're doing like, something that the player had done, but they're doing it as a kind of joke, and that always rubs everybody the wrong way. If you're not, you don't need to take yourself so seriously that you think that you're Mick Jagger, but you really want to honor, like have a sense of honoring the greatness of the person rather than, doing a little like, oh, look at me. Aren't I cute? I'm doing the thing,
Right. Yeah, because it comes across. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because when you go and see that, it absolutely doesn't come across as genuine, It comes across as fake, So I totally, and that's a great point that you make. And, people should take away that point. Also, another thing that you said that I could totally get is that when you're in the room learning, say, mom's parts, but then you get in the room with the other players, it comes together like, that's what that part was for. And that makes the magic on stage, It
is. And people are going to see it because they love the music, because the music was there when their kid was born or when they were partying with their friends in high school. Or, they have all of these, it brings back so much. And so you really want the music to feel alive. And that is the great thing about a tribute band. You get to see that music being played in a venue that it never was played in. I mean, Zeppelin never played those songs in like a 400-seat theater, right?
Right. Yeah. And if you got to see him in that, you were very lucky.
That's right.
Here's a question regarding the music. What I loved about Zeppelin, like even on the new film, when you watch the performances versus the recorded song, they always changed it up a little bit, because it's live. If you want to hear the song the way it's recorded, then yes, there might be some songs to do like that. But then like when Zeppelin would do Whole Lotta Love, it would break down into this whole incredible like blues, whole different approach. They did take it somewhere else and other songs as well. Have you done that? Have you gone the live recorded versions, or do you stick to the albums?
We learn there are certain songs that people are singing along to. They're singing the guitar solo to. They're singing, they know it and they want it to be, for instance, The Ocean. The Ocean is a perfect, we call those nuggets. Nuggets are songs that like people want to hear it the way it was done from beginning to end. They're going to sing the same thing. They're going to do the same thing in the song. So there are songs that we do very similar to that. Then there are songs that we do where they stretched out. So Immigrant Song, How Many More Times, the beginning of Dazed and Confused, Whole Lotta Love. And in those sections, Zeppelin made them their like stretched out and played them different every time. We do that, but we're not learning live Zeppelin. That's when we get to be Zepparella as the band Zepparella, but we're with a big nod to what Zeppelin did. And there might be some licks, like Gretchen found a really cool little lick that Jimmy did in one live version at the beginning of How Many More Times that she now incorporates.
Cool.
But then she does her own guitar solo at the beginning, right?
Cool.
And so we kind of do it like that. Whole Lot of Love. We've come up with this whole like 6-part craziness that we kind of go from thing to thing, where we throw in like Black Dog, a piece of Black Dog we've been doing lately. We've done put a little Trampled Underfoot in there. Like we kind of nod to another song in there in the course of like a bass solo and a guitar solo and a theremin solo on the guitar. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like we're doing those kind of things. And I think that's why we've been able to do this band for so long, for 20 years, because it gets to morph and change, you know, and we get to do it that way.
I think that's good on the honoring the band side. Honoring the song, because once again, when they performed live, they didn't do every song as is on the recording. Like that's deep, right. Deep understanding of the music, which is really cool.
Yeah. And that's, and there are bands, I know that there are Zeppelin bands who will play it exactly like the album for every song. And then there are bands who will play live performances. Like you can hear the live performance from this, from the BBC session or whatever. This is the show, they do it that way. Right. And so our way to do it is just to we really like to be a band. I feel like we want to be a band within a band, and Zeppelin's music gives us the most freedom, I think, of any band that we could do that with, other than maybe the Grateful Dead. I'm sure the Grateful Dead, like the people who in Dark Start, like they could do that as well. They could really stretch out and make it so that everybody in the room is boogieing and dancing, and it's like,
and it's a different type of band too.
That's right.
I love that answer. That's like it because it's so true. And another thing I'm always curious about, because Zeppelin, it crosses over generations. Are you seeing different fans at your show? Are you seeing a younger generation at your show? Older demographic? Is there a mix?
Yeah. I think that, we tend to have a lot of men in their, 50s, 60s. I mean, this is music that they grew up with, right?
Sure.
So that there's definitely, that's a big part of our demographic. But then there are certain towns where there's a lot of feminine presence there, which, is really great. Like the girl power thing is there. And then we love it when people, especially at festivals and stuff, when they're bringing their kids, when they're bringing their little wannabe guitarists or wannabe drummers. We just played Omaha this weekend, and there were these guys and 16-year-old guys in a band, and they were like, can I ask you a question? And I'll record it for our drummer, like, how do you get power like that? That kind of thing. So, it's just like, it's awesome to have like the youngsters really connecting to the music, and sometimes when I feel bad, like, oh God, I've been in a tribute band for so long, you know what I mean? Like I've done so much other music and stuff, but like, this is really what I'm known for. And if I ever get a little bit kind of dark about that or whatever, I just think, but in a way, I've turned so many people on to this music. So many people tell me like, I never liked Led Zeppelin, but now I like Led Zeppelin. And I remember that happening to me with, when I saw the Atomic Punks, from Los Angeles. Do you know them? And I remember when we played with them and I saw them, and I'd never really paid that much attention, to the music. And then when I saw them, I was like, oh yeah, like I really love this music. I remembered that I love that music.
Now that we're doing the podcast, not that I didn't before, but I'm trying to see more and more tribute bands and educate myself and see the difference and see who is passionate about what they're doing. Because believe me, there's a lot of people that you go out and see, you're like, oof, they're just doing it just to do it. There's no passion.
I think sometimes people think that, they've been slogging it out in original bands for so long, not making any money. And they think, oh, well, here's a saleable thing,
Right.
And And that while that may be true, also people are smart when they go see bands. They have a real radar for people who are doing it out of pathos and people who are doing it out of passion. Yeah.
I was just say that's why those bands have the following that they have, like the true dedicated fans that follow them. Go ahead, Ray.
So how many dates are you averaging a year?
Between probably 70 and 80, I would say.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And it takes you all over the place, all over the States?
Yeah, all over the States, yeah. We tend to fly in we have on the West Coast I drive. I have a Sprinter van and drive the gear around, which, is a hassle. I always say I think I'm going to be able to drum until I'm 100, but it's the loading that's going to kill me.
Yeah.
Zepparella, we travel lean. It's just the four of us. We don't have anybody with us. So we do all of the grunt work ourselves.
Yes, and I would imagine when you have a fly-in date, you just have the back line there and
just
doing what you need. Yeah. That's great. Where do you see the tribute band scene headed with so many new bands popping up? I don't even know with your schedule whether you ever get to go out and see some local tribute bands or see anything new or exciting. Do you hear anything? Oh my God, it's headed this way, this scene, or that way? Honestly,
I don't know that I've seen a tribute band other than any that we've played with in quite a long time.
There you go.
Yeah, but then again, I'm on the road a lot, and when I get home, a lot of the times, the last thing I want to do is go to a venue, and usually it's to see somebody.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, usually it's somebody to see like Nick Cave or one of my heroes. That's when I go out. So I rarely just. I don't drink anymore. I kind of became sober a couple of years ago, so that put a kibosh on some of the going out as well. So yeah.
Right. Well, you're so busy that the time at home sure is like precious time too.
Oh yeah,
that's
definitely.
Right.
It's a time.
Yeah.
To have a regroup and stuff like that.
Ray knows that well, speaking from the hotel room.
Every time we call, are you alive? He's like, I'm looking for my coffee.
Do you guys play? Do you play every day? Like, how do you stagger the?
We average about 4 to 5 a week, 4 to 5 shows a week.
That's doable.
Yeah, and like yesterday and today were days off. We got tomorrow, and then we have tomorrow night after the show, travel to the next city. I don't know. Then I'm home like in about a week and a half, or about 3 weeks. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great. Yeah,
that's like the countdown begins to get home.
That sounds reasonable. That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
So, Clem, what do you have coming up that we can get the audience watching us to go? Or can you tell us all like where everybody can find you, where they can find the band, the best places to find you? And we'll list it in the description.
Instagram,
so everybody go below and check it out.
Everything is, under Zepparella. So, and Zepparella is spelled like Barbarella, not like Cinderella. So it's Zepparella. So Zepparella.com, Zepparella official at Instagram, Zepparella on Facebook.
How about personally? Do you have some stuff coming out?
So this year I actually came out with 2 albums, and I have been releasing the videos for the second one right now. It's called Clem and Clearlight. It was this album that I wrote songs with Gretchen Menn, my guitarist. Her husband, Daniele Guitardo, is a virtuosic guitar player, and he and I got together during the pandemic and started jamming out, and this is that album. And we played with a piano player from a band called John Brothers Piano Company, and he's just an amazing piano player. So we the 3 of us got together and jammed, and then I created songs from those. So they're blues, some jazz stuff in there.
Cool.
Danielle and I have a few rock songs on there. I'm singing. I'm a lyricist, right? So I love to sing the lyrics. So I'm singing it, and then I played drums on the albums. So yeah. So
you got your hands full, and tell everybody what your personal site is where they can find you.
So I'm at clemthegreat.com, and my book is on Amazon. It's called From Bonham to Buddha and Back. And,
cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, it's a memoir about you kind of using my music career as metaphor for my spiritual practice. And kind of like, what's the point of meditation? Well, I'll tell you how I see it when I get up off of the meditation mat and get in the van and drive, 12 hours and go get on stage and play 2 hours. So, like John Bonham stuff.
That's
this
a
is
story right there.
That's right. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So this has been like, I'm looking at my list here, Ray. I'm sure you're doing the same, going, all right, we have about 300 more questions to ask.
Yeah.
But we're out of time, So we're going to have you on again.
Yeah, it was great talking to you.
Like to join us after we launch this, we'd love to have you back and hear more stories from you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for listening to Tribute Band Sessions podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment. Want more info? Sign up to our mailing list at tributebandsessions.com. It's the best way to stay in the loop on upcoming episodes, special guests, and behind-the-scenes stories, and all things tribute bands. And don't forget to follow us on all our socials at Tribute Band Sessions. Thanks for watching.